Welcome to New Life Live with host and founder of New Life Ministries, Stephen Arterburn. For 35 years, New Life has been transforming lives one at a time thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's Steve.
Hello, everybody. It's Becky Brown, and I am with Dr. Jill Hubbard, and Jim Burns will be joining us shortly. I think he's coming in now. Yep. Hi, Jim. And, Jill and I were talking before the program because we get these calls all the time about separation in families. Just a side note, you can call us 1-800-229-3000. We'll be talking about this and other things. But, there are some toxic relationships in families. That's a given. We hear about those all the time. But what if you are the parent of an adult son or daughter? You've done your work to try and make things better, but the adult son or daughter says, no, you trigger me. I can't be around you. And they just kind of break off ties without any resolution. And, I know that there are a lot of variables on this topic, but how do we manage when we've experienced toxic or painful relationships and we don't have any repair? How do we do that? I mean, Jill, we were just talking about this, and Jim, I know you've heard this story before too, but what would you suggest to somebody who's in this situation?
Well, I think it's just so difficult. And first of all, like, my heart just goes out to people. It's so tragic, right? Because we have now more and more a group of young people that think leaving and cleaving or separation and individuation is about completely cutting off. And that's never the case. The goal of health is to stay in relationship as much as it is possible, right, from doing your work on your side of the street, and have some healthy boundaries. There's separateness, but it's not complete isolation from one another. And so I think, first of all, as a parent, we are always the parent, right? Now, as adults, young adults move into adulthood, should they share more of the responsibility for the relationship? Absolutely, right? But it's never going to be 100% equal. And we have to remember that in that position, we may just feel like, hey, I like you. You're my kid, but I like you as a person. I want to be your friend or whatever. That's never how they're going to see us, right? And we can't lose sight of that. And therefore, I think it's our job to never give up in pursuing appropriately. Right? And we have to be willing to not be on a fact-finding mission of stating our case, but of wanting to understand perspective and realize that child and children may have different perspectives of what it was like growing up in our home, what it was like to be on the receiving end of us, and the narrative they told themselves, even if it's wrong. We have to first meet them where they're at and give them love and understanding. And I find it interacting with my own children, when I remove myself and my needs and my well, what about me, right? And I lean into addressing them and giving them empathy, I get so much more back.
Well, and I know, Jim, you have written a book on this, but also have dealt with this many times. No, that's all right. We're going to come back after the break. But, it's interesting because, the question would be, if you're the one that's triggered, if you're the adult son or daughter that's triggered, what can you do with that? And if you're the parent, what can you do to earn the trust back? And we're going to talk about that after the break. But, we're going to be taking your calls for a couple hours. I know that there's somebody listening right now that has a mom or a dad or an adult son or daughter that they may be dealing with this, among other things. We're here for you to help you in many different ways. You can call us 1-800-229-3000. You'll get some free advice. It's worth a little bit more than free.
Hopefully. No guarantee.
Maybe we can, it's right, no guarantee, but we will love you. We'll be right back.
Our marriage was just so toxic, and just so many simple interactions that turned into conflict. And so we signed up to participate in the workshop.
This is Steve Arterburn. Our Intimacy in Marriage workshop examines the various types of intimacy, spiritual, emotional, and physical, as well as the challenges of experiencing true intimacy.
The tools that we received from the Intimacy in Marriage workshop were tremendous. It was so much that we were able to take and utilize and actually come back and apply.
Don't settle for a miserable marriage or even one that's just okay. It's possible to have that great marriage you always want.
The next Intimacy and Marriage Workshop is July 28th to the 30th in Washington, D.C. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE to find out more, or go to newlife.com. 1-800-639-5433.
Best decision we could have ever made. There's no price that we can put on having healthy marriages.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We're talking about all things relationships, and what do you do when there's been some toxicity in relationships with our parents or our adult children? So, Jim, does everybody deserve a second chance on this topic?
Oh, I think we deserve a second, third, fourth, and fifth. You know, it's interesting we're having this conversation. Last week, I was speaking up in Cannon Beach, Oregon, all week. And it was the topic, and I wasn't even speaking on adult children, but it was just the demographic of who the people were. I was there from Sunday to Saturday. And that's what we talked about, and estrangement. And one of the things, and I love, I wish we could just record that and send that out to everybody, what you said, Jill. Honestly, it's so good. But
we'll do that, Jim.
Honestly, I wish we could.
It is recorded.
Yeah, that's right. But one of the things that I hear, and I'm not going to take the side of the parent here on this. I'm going to actually go against them a little bit, because when I dig, a lot of the parents are still trying to fix their kids. They say their kids have left, and their kids are saying, "I don't want to have anything to do with you," on. And then the parents. So I say, are you just backing off and beginning the relationship and with love and care and support, and even if they don't call you back, are you texting them on their birthday? Are you giving them love? Whatever. They always say, well, yeah, but then when I texted, I told them how messed up they were. That's not the time to do it.
Right.
We've got to be able to, I think as parents, if this is the case with our kids, I think we honestly have to back up, kind of start again, build the relationship with some trust. For some reason, we're not safe, or they don't trust us. And
it's
that's
like
usually the thing.
The rules change,
right.
And it's like we didn't get the memo, right? And so we keep operating as we always have, feeling entitled to 100% access to our children.
And that's the phrase I use. It's my first principle. You're fired as a day-to-day parent.
Yes.
And so quit trying to parent them. They don't want you to parent them. They want the freedom. So you back off and they say, well, my kids are a mess and they're making poor choices. I know. But it's still not our job to go fix them at this point. This is why I really think it's important. I was showing my little grandson yesterday in my little journal. I said, see, I pray for you this day, and I prayed for you this day, and I prayed for mommy and daddy. And, I think, honestly, part of what we can do is stop and pray. Now, I'm not saying that we give up at all, but I am saying that we don't try to fix them at this moment. This is a marathon, not a sprint.
Well, we pray for God to intervene and to use other people that they will hear more than us,
and
right?
The other thing I find is a lot of people are doing this estrangement by themselves. They're pretty lonely. They're kind of embarrassed. Maybe some of the folks who have been raised in the church, and then their kids were, and now their kids are, off.
Yeah.
And I think we really need to have some replenishing relationships where we can be open and honest. And yes, counseling. Also, some friends who just say, I feel your pain.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing to say.
Without judgment of,
right,
you must have been a bad parent, right?
Oh,
because
exactly.
it happens to the best of parents.
I mean, I think I said it 20 times in 10 talks this last week. Really good parents have kids who make poor choices.
Yes.
And sometimes, and I think one of the hardest things is when we watch our kids make poor choices and there's nothing we can do about it.
Right. Except for love them. That's the key.
No, exactly.
I mean,
there's not,
right.
we can't come in and fix it. And we've been fixing it for 2+ decades with our kids.
Right.
From the time they skin their knee to teaching them how to tie their shoe to, on and on, even thinking about curfew, and all of a sudden one day they go, hey, I'm an adult. They may not even be acting like an adult, but I'm an adult, and you got to still treat them as adult to adult. But find those replenishing relationships. Kathy and I had an experience with one of our daughters who, she has a master's in clinical psych, and she's awesome. But she kind of bumped in college, and Kathy and I decided, no, we're going to share this with our, not the world, but we're going to share this. I went to my small group, who I was just with, and I said, hey, here's what's going on. And you know what? We got so much support and so much love from a small group of people instead of trying to do this on our own or by being embarrassed because we go, wow, I write books on parenting, and why is this kid being a real ding-dong? Yeah. Luckily now she says, I was a ding-dong. How did you handle this? But
I love that.
Oh, isn't that great? When
it is so good.
Yeah. We had a family party on Sunday, and I looked at our kids and said, wow, they're awesome. They've turned great, but it took many years of adults acting a little strange.
And we all had to figure it out as well when we were their age. It was a little different, but we're going to help you. If you have anything that's going on in your life, give us a call, 1-800-229-3000. We're going to go to Chris right now, who's calling us from Boulder, Colorado, listens on the internet. Hi, Chris. How can we help you today?
Hi. Well, it's an interesting question, and it's kind of convoluted a little bit. I have a sister-in-law, lives out of state, and I don't know her life story firsthand. It's just what she's told me. I don't even know anything from her family members because it's that kind of messed up family. With her growing up, she evidently had a hard life, not a lot of money and all that stuff, and I don't know if there's any physical mental abuse. I would like to say yes. And she's now well over 50. She's still married to her husband, even though they went through a divorce and then they got married again. And they both have one son, and that child still lives at home. He's in his late 20s. He's suffering depression that I think is brought on from her mom's depression, anxiety issues. And whenever you want to address it, it's always your fault. You're the aggressor. You're the bad guy, and all that stuff. Even though you're trying to be helpful,
So, Chris,
how do you address that stuff with them actually reflecting in a positive manner? Yeah, maybe I do have an issue. She says she's been seeing a therapist, but it sounds like she's seeing the same therapist for 20 years. And I'm like, maybe you need to see another one.
And Chris, this is your wife's sister?
No, it's my sibling's wife.
Okay, so when you say she's divorced from her husband, that's your brother? Or
divorced or remarried?
Divorced. Okay.
Yeah, they had a divorce and then they made amends and then they got remarried.
Oh, they remarried. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have one more question, Chris, before Jill and Jim answer. So when you say that you're trying to help her, but you guys don't live by each other, how does this become a problem for you?
Right.
How is this a problem for you?
Well, it's a problem for everybody.
Okay.
Okay, so I was in the military, so I was out of pocket. I was never there firsthand. I was deployed. I was residing overseas, doing my service to the country and all that stuff. And but every once in a while, you have your family get-togethers and whatever, and she has a tendency to complain about this or complain about that. And if you address it like, okay, well, why didn't you do it? Why didn't you buy it? Why didn't you cook it? Or whatever. Then she gets all offensive about it. And, I'm like, okay, well, you say you have these issues, but every time you bring up the issues, it sounds like you use them as I'm a victim, and she plays the victim all the time.
Okay. All right. I think we get a better picture now, Chris. Jim or Jill, how can we help him?
I've got a question. One more question. Does your brother want your input on her?
For lack of a better term, I think he's apathetic. He's like, you know what? If I don't talk about it, it's better to not talk about it than to address it, because then I'm not poking the bear, whatever your term you want to come up with.
Yeah.
So he's just trying to survive in the relationship,
Right.
and not cause waves.
If you don't cause waves, then you're not stirring the pot. Just I've never known my brother to. I love my brother. I just never known him to be a person to really address issues, and he's kind of like me. He won't do anything about it until he gets to a certain point where you're like, all right, well, I guess I have to do something about it because it's going to get really, really bad really quick. Instead of nipping it in the bud, as a certain actor would say.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so Chris, what you're talking about is kind of situational relationship. When we have extended family that don't live by us and we only interact with them every once in a while, holidays and such, which can make such a wonderful time. It's how do you manage your feelings when she is the way that she is? Because here's the thing, you don't have enough of a relationship with her that you can speak into her life. And that is where that can be frustrating for you. But it's really, how can I love my family? I love my brother, but how can I be the best support person in the times that I interact with them? Right?
Right. Because you can't go to a family, holiday and confront someone or use that. That doesn't work.
Nobody else in the family, especially when you have nobody else in the family that is willing to do the same.
Right. That's right. And so she's negative. Everybody knows she's negative, right? Nothing sits right with her. And so I think to a person like that, you just try to be overly kind, right? But you don't buy into her victimhood negativity, right? And you have comments like, oh, wow, sounds like nothing feels right for you today. I'm sorry about that, right? And you just give them empathy without buying in.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I know I'm not the only person. Yeah, I know I'm not the only person in the world that is going through these situations.
Right.
I know I won't be able to.
Well, no, but you don't jump on the bandwagon of trying to please her so she won't be upset. Let her be upset. Let her sulk.
Yeah.
Let her leave. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? It's like, oh, I'm sorry, nothing feels right to you. Or I'm sorry you're not liking that.
You're 60 years old and you're still reacting like a 6-year-old. I'm sorry. I have a hard time with that.
Okay, but that would be a digging remark then.
Right. Well, and the other part of
say that, no.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about, though, for Chris to have some detachment practice?
Healthy detachment.
And what does that look like when you're in those holiday seasons?
Chris, I think you're going to have to lower your expectations because you live a different way and you have a different lifestyle. She's not inviting you for your input. And even if you gave her input and then she kind of puts it down, well, then she's basically saying to you, I'm not interested in your input. So I think when Jill says, boy, that must feel really bad. Fine, you're showing empathy. Protect and honor. Protect your family. And I mean your immediate family, and then honor the relationship for your brother. But you're going to have to lower your expectations. She's not inviting you to help change her at 50.
Right.
And if she does, you'll get more by just simply saying, like Jill was saying, oh gosh, that must feel bad. You're showing some empathy. Other people probably are so sick of it that they don't show empathy. So you show empathy. It's a false.
And then you move on.
Yeah. It's a false sense of empathy in the sense that, it's not like you're going to go home and you're not going to be in a relationship with her. But her relational IQ isn't very good.
No.
So because her relational IQ isn't very good, then she doesn't have high expectations on you, frankly.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and when someone is overly negative like that, really, everything doesn't sit right. They're like the little kid that nothing is good, right? Yeah. And so, and they don't know how to make it good. And so she's trying to point out the problem of that she doesn't quite feel right? But what it does is it pushes people away.
Yeah.
And that's a sad fact. So you can have empathy for the fact that she's in this struggle and doesn't know how to get out of it.
And you know what? She is in a cycle. Because I think people who awfulize their life, that's actually a self-fulfilling prophecy. They start talking about negativity and then they go negative. And even the scripture says, in the King James Version anyway, it says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Now, I'm not one who usually quotes King James, but I think
I was going to say that's from a Bible.
Totally. But because the thinker, but in reality, Emerson said that what you think about all day long, you become, and it sounds like
you get more of what you focus on.
Yeah, exactly.
Now that doesn't mean we shouldn't do our work and look at our history and be truthful about it. That's different than just being a negative person.
And to that point, Chris, I think, we don't even know what the history of your sister-in-law, what she's experienced. And I'm going to send you a copy of How We Love. That may seem, off, on a different path, but really when we get to understand people's histories and how they impact their present, we become a little more tolerant because we don't know the whole story. And we can decide how we're going to be in those moments so that we can be the best version of us. And then if they're asking for help, we're ready and we're open. We're going to take more calls. Call us 1-800-229-3000.
It had become very apparent that some of the things I was involved with were taking over my life.
In today's world, men are barraged with inappropriate content and images all day, every day. Some say that certain behaviors are just no big deal. It's just part of being a guy. But it's simply not true. It's a battleground for every man, and the opportunities to fail are everywhere. New Life's Every Man's Battle Workshop can help.
After 7 years, just one weekend, a completely changed man.
For over 20 years, New Life Ministries has been helping men regain their integrity and purity through their one-of-a-kind Every Man's Battle Workshop.
He said, I think this is something that every man should go to. Married, dating, it was definitely life-changing.
Now the workshop is coming to Dallas, Texas, August 4th through the 6th. Don't wait for him to call. To find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go to newlife.com.
I just can't say enough of what New Life has done for our marriage.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
I've been listening to New Life for many years, gone to a few workshops. I want to support a ministry that helps people connect with God and with others and gives them the tools to help transform their lives.
You can help New Life Live stay on the air by joining Club New Life today. When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, we'll send you the new member thank you gift of all 8 100-day devotionals, including 100 Days of Healing, 100 Days from Freedom from Shame, and 100 Days of Freedom from Anger. There are also ongoing benefits like the monthly Club New Life CD or download, access to the Club New Life video library, quarterly resources, free shipping on purchased resources, discounts on workshops, and quarterly online meetings with Steve. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Support Club New Life, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. I agree. You should call us at 1-800-229-3000. We've got a couple of lines open, and, we're always talking about improving relationships. And today is basically, we want to help you with your relationships. We're going to talk to Lindy, who's calling us from Houston, Texas, listens on Sirius XM. Hi, Lindy. Thanks for calling. How can we help you today?
Hi, thank you. I am estranged from my mom. My mom, she has borderline personality disorder, and it's just been a very difficult relationship my entire life. And she is wanting to restore a relationship, which she does from time to time. But I'm in intense treatment right now for childhood trauma, and that's just a road I cannot go down right now. But I was just wanting to know, how can I proceed, as a believer in Jesus Christ and a Christian and wanting to be a good daughter, but still needing to protect myself and my family. Do y'all have suggestions?
That's really a tough diagnosis, and it's tough to have a parent that has that. Jill, let's start with you.
Well, and a situation like that is one of those cases where you do need to have a lot of boundaries. And if you're in a time of reflection and self-discovery, you don't need her messing in that. And so in situations where parents do not respect boundaries at all, and I'm not talking minor infractions, major infractions, right? All parents cross minor boundaries, right? Because they have a hard time, like we said, making that distinction that the kids are no longer kids. But with someone who does it majorly, I think, and yet she's reaching out for relationship. And I think I always try to work towards having as much relationship as is warranted by the situation, as is possible by both parties. And sometimes that's maybe very small, right? But to have her reach out, would it feel appropriate, given where you're at, to even say, I appreciate, Mom, maybe through text or whatever, I appreciate you reaching out. I'm in a time of kind of personal reflection and growth, so I'm needing to kind of keep to myself at this time. But I will let you know down the road when I feel ready for more contact. That then you're preserving, because borderlines have a really strong sense of abandonment, right? And the thing is, even though she may not deserve your kindness, you want to be better than her, right? And you want to treat her how you would want to be treated, golden rule stuff, right? And you want to not intentionally hurt her. And so if you just slam the door in her face, that's going to stir up all of her abandonment, her rage. You're going to get something stronger and a lashing out or something. And so it's like, okay, if you can, just give her a little bit that says, Mom, I'm here. I hear you. Not a good time. I'll let you know down the road when I'm ready for more contact.
Yeah,
and thank you for checking in, right?
Right. And I was even thinking too, Jill, on those requests, you don't have to give her the whole story
No,
either,
absolutely
Lindy.
not.
It's okay for you to just go, thanks for reaching out and hope you're doing well, and just be minimal in that. Jim, what about the spiritual aspect that Lindy's talking about? That's hard is, how are we supposed to be good Christians, so to speak, in these difficult
Well, I think sometimes
situations.
we define good Christians. We think we're supposed to give up our self and our issues. Lindy, I'm really glad you're getting help for your childhood trauma, and it probably sounds like some of that would be, possibly with your mom. And I don't think that, from a spiritual context, we're supposed to, when the Bible talks about denying ourselves and following Christ, it means we're following Christ. We're not. Sometimes the very best thing we can do is have what they were talking about is boundaries. I like where they're going, because now again they talk. They read all the great psychological books. I'm a pastor and I love movies, and so I'm going to quote a movie called "What About Bob?" Okay, it's just the funniest movie.
Yeah.
But the big theme is take baby steps, and I actually heard Jill say that to you. Take a baby step. And it could be a text. It doesn't make it safe for you.
Absolutely.
But don't if she goes at you, because again that's going to happen with what her diagnosis is. If she goes at you, then that's when you back off. But you can take a baby step, and you can say even things if you felt comfortable, depending on what you're dealing with, because in a good way, you're dealing with you're getting help. So wherever if you like your counselor and your counselor is helping you, then listen to your counselor. But sometimes the very best thing you can do is just simply say thank you for reaching out, and if you can muster it up, I love you, and there probably is some form of that. I love you, but don't feel like you have to be the person who makes her all better. Okay,
right.
And that's kind of I just want to say that we tend to do this. I'm a people pleaser, so I want to please everybody who's messed up. Okay, and what's funny? I don't do well with them because I end up going too far, and then they kind of suck me dry, and then I'm of no use to anybody.
How does that feel, Lindy? Does that sound like something that's helpful?
It's hard, but yes, I will pray about it and try that. What do I do if she goes too far? Because once you give a little bit, she just keeps putting.
Right, and then that's when, like, you've responded, you've given her something. If she doesn't accept it, well, then you have to maybe step back, right? Yes. Either not respond or just reframe. Remember, I said I'll reach back out when I'm ready.
Right. Okay. You know, Lindy, the part of your healing work will be to be able to define where you begin and end with her.
Yep.
And that's a process. What book would be helpful for Lindy? Forgiving Our Fathers and Mothers?
Oh, yeah,
Jill?
that would be good. Yes.
There would be. It's written by Dr. Jill Hubbard. There you go. Lindy, thanks so much for calling. We'll be back with Denise and Tom after this.
For most of my life, I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit it's addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have Christ-centered partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE. Chris Williams on coaching.
Oftentimes I get asked, what is the difference between therapy and coaching? The biggest difference between the two is that a therapist is going to be looking for a diagnosable mental health condition, whereas a coach is going to look at a particular issue and help a person work through that.
If you need a coach, call New Life today and ask about the New Life Coaching Network. Our coaches have been trained and screened with the same intensive process we use for our network counselors.
If you're looking at an issue in your life that you just kind of want to change, whether it be your weight or leadership or other areas of behavioral patterns, check out coaching. There can be some really, really helpful things for you.
Take control of your life and take action to achieve your goals. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 and talk to us about getting a New Life coach. 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We are going to continue taking your calls at 1-800-229-3000. And now we're going to talk with Denise and Tom from Detroit and listens on Sirius XM. Detroit's my hometown. How are you guys? How can I help you?
I'm doing okay.
How can we help you?
I have a situation here with my mother. She's 93 years old, and my younger brother, is on drugs, and we found out he's doing crystal meth, and he has been for years, and he's having hallucinations and been verbally abusive with me, and he keeps calling my mother and telling her about all these hallucinations. Well, she's dying. She has... she developed breast cancer, which metastasized to her brain, and now there's nothing more they can do. And so I'm the sole caretaker. My husband had to leave. I'm in the car right now.
Okay.
He had to take a call. But it's just hard for us. We've told him that until you go to rehab, you can't come over. We don't want him here.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm getting the guilt trip by my sister, who is going to methadone clinic every day, and saying, how could I do this to my mother, and she will just fall apart if I do this. She's making me feel guilty.
If you do what? If you do what? Keep brother from mom, or?
Yes. If I keep him from seeing her, this will tear her apart. That's what I was told. And so I'm going through a lot of emotions right now.
Yeah. That's a lot.
I'm not
Denise,
sure how to handle this.
And does your mother have a say-so in any of this? Like, does she say anything to you about it? Can you still talk with her?
Yeah, I talked to her this morning, and she says, well, if you don't want him to see me, then you have to tell him. I said, I will tell him. I don't have a problem with that.
Denise, does she live with you, or is she in a care facility? She lives with you.
She lives with us, and we're taking care of her. We're trying to keep her as comfortable as possible. She has hospice come in once a week. She's talked to a social worker there, and
you are under a lot of stress. I mean, there's just a lot. And then you've got two siblings who are addicted or dealing with addiction. And of course, the guilt trip is really their favorite one to take for other people. They want to invite you to feel bad about being healthy and doing the right thing. Jim, how can Denise help in this process? Help her brother, sister, just facilitate this mess?
Well, Denise, first of all, what you're going through is so rough. There is no easy answer. There is no magic wand. You are being, in many ways, you're being the hands and the mouthpiece of God for your mom and protecting her as she enters into eternity. So you're amazing. Please hear that.
Definitely.
I know sometimes you might go, "What am I doing in this mess?" And it is a mess. But please hear that. I mean, and sometimes we have to do the unpopular thing, or the thing that's going to, you need to protect your mom. And so if you feel like it's unsafe, and again, usually that's emotionally, not physically, but if it's unsafe for your brother or even your sister's involvement in that, then I think you take the lead. And, truly, if you're around some people who can kind of help build you up, and it sounds like your husband wanted to be on this call too, then they're going to build you up. I mean, you're not going to hear from us, hey, you're doing a terrible job, and maybe there's a secret little way to do something. I don't know. I do know that there have been times, and I don't know that this is your situation, but I know that there have been times when people are in hospice that they do bring the brother who's on drugs or whatever in a supervised situation. And sometimes that's a blessing.
Question.
Yeah, that's a blessing to your mom. If your mom wanted that, then that's a blessing. But at the same time, it's hard because your brother may, get right in there and start asking for, he's going to be needy or putting you down or whatever, and then all of a sudden this thing raises. But you're in a shorter time span with this, so you're going to have to decide, and this is where it's lonely when you're caring for this is where you're going to have to decide. Is there a time when I do bring them in supervised situation? Don't send them in by themselves, but in a supervised situation, because it's a blessing to your mom at the end of her life. Or do you protect your mom because she's got two kids who are addicts.
Right.
Well,
right.
And so along those lines, Jim, I was thinking something similar, Denise. I think you evaluate how much time your mom has. Talk to the hospice people and see that. And I think not that you give your brother carte blanche, that you arrange a time, but he has to not be high, okay? Is the criteria. You arrange a time where he comes and maybe the hospice people are there and you have enough people there and give him a time. Because I think at both ends, I think regardless of his life, he's your mother's son and she's probably going to want to see him before she dies.
Yes.
Also, you're going to be left with this brother and sister who will rage and blame at you if you keep them from seeing their mother before she dies. And so I think there has to be a compromise. It's again, like Jim is saying, supervised, right? But you create an opportunity that they can step into if they are willing, right? Like I said, to show up not high and to realize the condition that their mother is in, but a chance to say goodbye.
Yeah, that sounds great. I think that would be the best way forward too, Denise. So we're going to send you a copy of 100 Days of Prayer because right now I know you are overwhelmed with so many things, and it's short little devotionals. It'll encourage you as you go through this process. But I think supervised visits is a very good way to go, and we'll be praying for you and your husband and your mom. It's hard. Those end days are really hard. We're going to talk with Larry Sonnenberg, who's in the studio in California. How you doing, Larry?
Doing really well, Becky. Thank you for having me on here. We have a workshop coming up, Intimacy in Marriage. And there
soon.
is. Yes, very soon.
But it's still time to sign up?
Yes, there is. There is time. And I want to read a testimony, but I want to encourage people to go see a testimony on our website. If you go to newlife.com and click up at the top page, events. Okay. And then intimacy and marriage, there is a testimony on that page, probably about halfway down, and it's a couple, and they tell their story. And they tell the resistance that the wife had to even want to come, and then the end results. And it's a wonderful testimony. I just think it would make a difference for a lot of you. But here's what a gentleman said from a past workshop. Where I expected God to meet me this weekend was nowhere near the place he actually met me. I showed up at this workshop with one goal, to prove to my wife that she was the root of our problems. Instead, Jesus met me with forgiveness and acceptance. I realized how much I contributed to the pain our marriage has suffered. And then my wife's tears served as a mirror which reflected the brokenness of our relationship that I can control, me. I'm committed to work hard to grow, adapt, and repair my brokenness. I am committing to replacing anger with listening, isolation with touching, and shaming with adoration. God bless me with my wife. He's fighting for us. What a change of heart and attitude.
Love that.
Going in thinking, it's not about me, it's all her. And walking out realizing God had me here for a reason to deal with me.
That's a courageous man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because, again, he had a different agenda, and he took it right. And, I think we all need to do that. The healing that takes place in something like an intimacy in marriage is remarkable. And,
yeah, it is.
And he was going to point a finger at his wife, but he had a couple of fingers pointing at
right back at him.
Yeah.
So, folks, I hope you'll call and check into it, and then probably register. There's still lots of room. We love having a full house, and we need one. And, folks, if you want to support a ministry that does God's work and is being blessed by God.
Well, it is so worth it, right? Like everyone that goes says thank you for pushing us to go.
Yeah.
And, one of the reasons why I think that is because we're not, rainbows and butterflies. It's not like fluffy.
No.
It's literal information that will change the way that you relate to one another.
Even non-married people wish they could go.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I've had people say that, and I've thought the same thing.
Right. You're going to have speaking sessions with breakout groups that are led by one of our New Life counselors who are going to help explain what you've heard, explore your story, and create a plan going home. And it's amazing to see the couples Friday to Sunday. Go ahead, Larry.
I would say don't be afraid to come, because one of the things that you'll learn is you'll learn to be broken together. And that's a really neat thing, a cool thing, the way that happens. So join us.
Well, if you want to join us, go to newlife.com or call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE, or call us here, 1-800-229-3000. Thanks, Larry.
All right.
We all face days where life throws us a curveball and our routines or plans get disrupted. Things we wanted to do are forced to take a backseat to the unexpected demands of the day. If you normally listen to New Life Live on a radio station, well, you might not be able to that day. And on these hectic days when you're feeling stressed or frazzled, hearing the sound of counsel given on New Life Live is just what you need to navigate the unexpected things of life.
Every time I'm troubled or I have a problem, I'll cut on New Life, and there's always something that is said that is helpful to me.
By listening, I have learned more than I can ever express about how God wants me to live.
Download the New Life app for the easiest way to listen wherever you are and at a time that's convenient for you, or watch the show on our YouTube channel. You can even subscribe to our podcast from your favorite podcast provider. You never have to miss a day of New Life. Wherever you are, we are.
I was sort of vaguely familiar that the 12 steps had some origination in the Bible. I found Life Recovery, and one of the things I liked so much was that it had such a broad appeal. It wasn't limited to just alcohol or drugs, that it was addressing a wide range of problems.
At New Life, we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country. They take place online, in conference calls, and in person. And if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. We have startup materials, leaders' guides, CDs, Bibles, and more, all with discounts available for groups. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and ask for Terry Ward. The 12 Steps have long been a great help to people in recovery because much of the 12 Steps' power comes from the fact that they capture principles clearly revealed in the Bible.
The 12 Steps is really a pattern for all of us as Christians.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We are still taking callers at 1-800-229-3000, and we're going to talk with Donna, who's calling us from Kansas City, Missouri, and listens on the podcast, and you can too, wherever you get your podcast, and we'd love to have you join us there. Hi, Donna. How can we help you today?
So I'd like to figure out how to help my brother. He's 60 years old and a year older than me, and he's been bullied all his life. When we were in high school, the kids would steal his lunch money every single day. He's been beat up. He was beat up at the bus stop, and just through his life, he's a strong Christian, and he's got a very sweet heart, and he's very generous, and people just take advantage of him. And he was married for a little while, and his wife pretty much took everything and divorced him. And then now he's in a situation where he had joined a mission group where some missionaries were trying to serve the downtown inner city community, and he's now gotten caught up with all of these people who are on drugs and all of this sort of thing. And of course, they're very needy, and he's there for them, and they call him up all the time, and he drops everything and runs and helps them. And they come to his house, and one of them distracts him while the other one goes in and steals everything he has. And he won't press charges, and one of them beat him up the other day, and everything was just going so wrong. He finally, after that, decided to commit suicide, and I just don't know how to help him. I mean, this has just been his whole life story.
Gosh. Donna, is he nearby? Does he live near you?
He lives about 30 miles away. He lives in St. Joseph.
Okay. All right. And one other question is, has he ever been diagnosed with anything? Does he hold a job, that kind of thing?
He's had a job, the same job. He does it's a manual labor type job, works at, I think, a fertilizer plant, and does very well with his job, works overtime. They depend on him. He's, for 20 years, 25 years, he's had the same job, and it's a very good job with good benefits and everything, and he works so much overtime, and he has not a penny to show for it.
Oh, gosh. Well, Jill or
He's
Jim,
one of those really, really nice guys, those that lacks discernment, right?
Yep.
And sounds like a guy that would give the shirt off his back, but he doesn't know when to say no to people. And when you've been bullied a lot, too, you think if you say yes and you're very accommodating, then people will like you. But it's actually just the opposite. They realize that you don't have a backbone, right? So it brings out the evil in others, or he picks people, right? It's like once you've been hurt and bullied and had some trauma, it's like you've got it written on your forehead. And people who are takers will seek you out. So I think, wow, for your brother, he needs somebody in life to walk alongside him, right? And to help him sort out, why is it so hard to say no to people? And what would that be like? And to really kind of teach him some assertiveness training, and to help him develop a little more discernment, because he keeps picking the same types of people, it sounds like, in life. And so whether that be a therapist or a coach or a mentor, somebody that he can meet with on a regular basis.
Right.
Does he have friends? Does he have support? Would he go to therapy?
I've recently talked to him, and he's decided after his suicide thing that yes, he would go to therapy.
Okay.
And that's a big thing.
Okay, that's a good
I was
step.
trying to get him into a men's Bible study so he could meet somebody.
Right.
But so far that hasn't happened, and he works the night shift, so he sleeps during the day, and he has, and he goes to work at like 7, which most men's Bible studies are going to start around that time.
Or they're early in the morning. A lot of men's studies, so I don't know when he gets off work, but a lot of times they're 6 a.m., 7 a.m.
Yeah, and that might be a good time for him.
What do you think about, Donna, does he, I got a lot of things in my head right now, obviously, but I'm thinking that because his no has been taken from him his whole entire life, to explain to him that he needs to have boundaries or he needs to have the ability to stand up for himself, I don't know that he understands that from a core level. And so I'm wondering if even a group like Life Recovery Group on codependency or something where he begins to understand where he begins and ends. And it's great that he has a giving heart, but he also needs to know that sometimes people need no for their benefit, not just for
they
his.
need to know what to hit up against, because too much of a good thing is too much. So too much giving is no longer good.
Jim, what would you offer,
well,
Donna?
For one thing, Donna, I would say that attempted suicide, I kind of circled that when I was taking some notes. That's your entree for him to get some help. And sure, he needs mentoring, he needs accountability, and a lot of times counselors become mentors. So, a counselor, a therapist, or a coach or whatever. But, this is the thing for him. I mean, he needs to be in that church. As they mentioned, I think most men's small groups don't happen at night. I think they happen in the morning, so right after he gets off work. But, does he have all those things? Those are things that he can find within most churches in St. Joseph's, Missouri. I'll just tell you that right now, because there's some great ones there. But also, he's got to deal with this attempted suicide. What went on with that?
Yeah.
So that's your presenting problem, even though it wasn't before he attempted, perhaps. But that's going to help him get in to see what caused him to believe that it would be better for him to be dead than alive.
Yeah.
And that may be an entree, and it's that it's above family's pay grade. It's use the therapist there to help them.
You do need a therapist.
So
for that.
so with that, the therapist can then help guide and direct him towards some really healthy things. I mean, mentoring is healthy, accountability is healthy, a small group is healthy.
He needs all of that.
Yeah, right. But also, even with the mission, the mission needs to be able to help him think through that process of accountability, because the mission they probably have rules of having them not come into the house. And
you probably don't bring them home with you.
So, and if that mission isn't that healthy, then there's plenty of other missions who could. But again, I would really think through I would really encourage him to get the help to work through the suicide attempt.
And we'll be able to connect with a counselor or coach in that area. I'm thinking, you guys, that I'm thinking of Dave's book, Finishing Strong. I never can get the title right. Loving Well, Finishing Strong.
Living Well, Finishing Strong, or
That's
Living
it.
Strong, Finishing Well.
It's that book, as well as The Soul of a Man. I'm going to do a twofer on that one, because I think, your brother has a solid heart, and, we want to encourage him to live fully and to get better. And Donna, you're a great sister for loving him so well. We're going to continue taking calls. 1-800-229-3000. We're going to record another show after this one. And if there's something on your heart or your relationship, maybe it's a work issue, maybe it's a church issue. We all got stuff. And I think, that's the thing that surprises people. You judge that other people don't have, or you don't want other people to know what's going on with you. And the reality is we all got stuff going on. And it's just a matter of being human. We can help you. God loves you and wants to help you as well. And we believe in that power of God working in your life. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Jill. Give us a call, 1-800-229-3000. We'll be here for about an hour. And tell somebody about New Life. It could change their life.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.
Hi, thank you for watching New Life Live. You know, New Life Live is a Christian counseling program where we deal with the hard questions about life, relationships, kids, free choice, freedom of will, whatever. It's all right there on New Life Live every day, every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. If you want to call into the live broadcast, you can find the schedule on newlife.com or click the social media link right below. You can see every episode of New Life Live on the New Life YouTube channel. Watch it with a friend, watch it later. Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you'll never miss another episode. So if you want to listen on the go, download the app. The link is right below. And I hope if you need some information, if you want to get some help, you'll call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. And I'll see you next time.